Hi, my name is Noma Lang. I'm Shalini Moses with HealthyBlackWoman.com and SuccessfulBlackWoman.com. I'm here with my good friend and fellow mother, Shaquita Graham from Ateco.com and LovingTheBlackMan.com. How are you doing today, Shaquita?
I'll be doing better when we finish discussing this topic that disgusts me.
Okay, so we'll jump right in. One of the reasons why I mentioned that Shaquita is a fellow mom is just before we started recording this segment, we were talking about what we're going to say in the segment, and it's about George Zimmerman selling the gun with which he murdered, Shaquita actually said executed Trayvon Martin with. For those that don't remember, although I can't imagine who doesn't remember, Trayvon Martin was a 17-year-old boy who at the time was visiting his father in a neighborhood in Orlando, Florida. And George Zimmerman happened to live in that, I believe it's a gated community. And he also lived in that community, and he saw Trayvon Martin, assumed he was a criminal, and immediately went and antagonized him. They got into an altercation, and he killed him. And then it got worse because even though he's the one who approached Trayvon Martin with no reason to think that he was doing anything wrong, he then went to trial and was acquitted and then walked free.
Acquitted.
And then after being acquitted, he continued to brag and taunt Black people about getting off scot-free for killing a Black boy. He continued to say things about Black people. And he continued to have run-ins with the law, and which one of them, if I remember correctly, was in 2013, maybe 14, where he was in an altercation with his girlfriend, and his girlfriend said that he physically assaulted her. He was arrested and once again got off free with that. Then he had another run-in with the police. At this point, I'm running out of time to say all the things that, or all the times that he had run-ins with the law. And the most recent one now is that he's in the news because he's selling or auctioning off the gun to the highest bidder for this gun that he killed this young 17-year-old boy with. So Shaquita, what are your thoughts?
Okay, so first, just to make sure that we get the story right, they have just taken this gun off of auction. This, I'm just not a big fan of saying expletives on camera.
Who's they?
That is
the company with which he was auctioning. Is that
Gun Brokers?
Okay, so he was auctioning it on a gun selling site. Yeah,
I think it's called gunbroker.com.
Okay.
And he bragged about the history of the weapon, that it's a piece of American history, he said. Mm-hmm. And that part he actually got right. Because in this system, we have had countless attacks on the image and the character of Black men and Black women. Recently, just a day ago, there was a report about a South African judge, and I know she's in Africa, but this plays on the whole diaspora of Black people.
A white South African judge.
Some of them want to, pretend like what happens in Africa doesn't matter. She said Black people. And she said that with Black people, murder is not a biggie. Gang rapes of babies, daughters, mothers is a pleasurable pastime for Black men. And then you have this heinous, malicious murderer over here that has killed someone's child and has the nerve to brag about it and then try to sell the gun as a piece of American history. And at the same time, you have a white judge who's been a judge for 30 years who had to resign because he's been having sexual contact with defendants that have been involved with cases that he handled. He had one man, he was involved with a child custody case. He said, the man says that this judge took him into a courtroom and told him to strip naked, and then the judge handcuffed him and took pictures of him naked in various positions. And this man, from my understanding, this so-called judge is not even in jail right now, while you have a 17-year-old Black boy who was, I think, taken to jail because some white chick sent him some sexually provocative text messages, and he sent some back. If this is not injustice, I don't know what is. I mean, it's just ridiculous.
I think we could go on and on. I just remember as we were coming on here, I saw on my news feed that in Baltimore, now the name slipped from me, one of the men who was murdered by cops, his trial is currently underway. Do you remember who was murdered in Baltimore by cops?
That's Freddie Gray?
Yes, Freddie Gray's trial is underway. And I remember seeing it on my news feed. And even when I saw it, I'm not going to be surprised if there's an acquittal, because I'm seeing a trend here of if the defendant is white, it's a different outcome. If the defendant is black, it's a different outcome. So I think what's sad is that we're getting into a place where we have the expectation of injustice and unfairness.
Well, the takeaway for me is three things. We need to take control of the narrative, and we have to understand that the narrative that's being played out about Black men, Black women, Black children is a concerted effort to perpetuate propaganda to get us to buy into these realities that are false. The second thing is we need to recognize who we're dealing with. We are dealing with a group of people who have literally raped, terrorized, pillaged almost every single person on the planet, man, woman, or child. And right now, Shaun King just released an article on the New York Daily News about how, 70% of the police killed this year, 71% of the police who've been shot and killed so far in 2016 have been killed by white men. Where's the outrage? Where's the study? Where's the analysis of his parents? And why don't we pull out his cousins and examine all of these white men who are out here killing for no reason, really? You know, I just saw Cynthia G did a video about how a white man killed his brother over a hamburger. So, I mean, and then at the same time, the image of the Black man is of a murderer and a rapist.
I mean, I have an answer to one of your questions, which is, you know, why isn't the media covering just this and where's the outrage? Because people basically respond to what the media feeds them, and the media is not feeding them these stories. But white people control the media for the most part. And most people don't want to really look at that fact. But one of the reasons why I come on this channel, and I know you come on this channel, is we want to have a voice in the media and shape what is being spoken about, how we're seen, how we're treated, and so forth. But the truth is, if I had a channel, as much as I wanted to be balanced, I wouldn't continue to talk about how women from Botswana are bad and what they did and focus on that and keep hammering that in. No, I'm going to look at how other people are bad, and then I'm going to talk about how wonderful and beautiful and talented, smart, or whatever they are. So the same thing goes with the media. Why do we have this expectation? And I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about in general. We have this expectation that they're going to cover these stories about white-on-white crime or other heinous things that white people do. They're not going to do that because most people don't want to look at themselves, and most major media outlets are owned by white males.
Okay, I understand that, you know, we shouldn't expect white people to be honest about their history and their role in the atrocities and the terrorism around the world. But I don't in any way think that that's natural. I think it's very unnatural for people to come up with malicious lies about another group in order to demean their image to the point where they can be repeatedly killed on camera and nobody will care because they feel that these people deserve it. And that is the other thing that we need to stop buying into, because you have other Black people. Like, I literally had to stomach, you know, some family members in my house that had the nerve to say, well, Tamir Rice had a gun. I'm like, literally, I can't, I question your humanity if you think that it's okay for police officers to kill children and get away with it. And for you, so many people like us, people, I don't even want to name these people that come on and do these videos and say, Black people are so violent. And then, you know, you've had these so-called studies by so-called scholars about the violent gene in Black people, when you have countless statistics showing the murderous, torturous nature, the bloodthirsty nature of so many white men. And of course, they're not going to say it, but what we need to do is unplug from these mainstream media outlets. If you are listening to a mainstream media outlet right now, you are being lied to. If your child is going to a public school or a private school in America and probably anywhere around this world, and especially a child of color, they are being lied to. If you read an average, it's just so much propaganda that we need to start to recognize that this is programming our minds, and we need to start to have more pride in our own selves and take control of our own narrative, whether it be from a fictional standpoint, from a factual standpoint. All media, we need to I don't even listen to mainstream media.
Yeah, me too. And that's really what I was saying, is that I don't participate in mainstream media or listen to it or engage in it. And part of the reason is they reshape information, and usually it's to our disadvantage. And that's what I was trying to say. It's like we can't have the expectation that they're going to tell our stories and tell them the way they need to be told.
And we have that expectation. You're right. We wonder why our children are bleaching their skin or going outside half naked, or thinking that it's okay for them to engage in all of these perverse acts, sexual acts and things like that, because we allow them to tune into the narrative of a European mindset. You know, and I'm sorry, I'm just outraged by this, because it sickens me what this man did and what so many of these white men are doing to our children, boys, girls, men and women. I'm just, I can't take it. It's too much for me today.
It is. It is. And I totally hear where you're coming from. Of course, this is an ongoing conversation, like I say, with most of our conversations. I think today, more than any other day, we're really highlighting how important it is to do what we do, and to build our own platforms. It may start out small, but it's going to be meaningful down the line, or even as soon as you start it. And to start taking charge of our voices, our history, or at least the way that our history is being told. And I know we mentioned this too many times where probably people roll their eyes by now, but we both homeschool our kids. And a large part of that, if not the whole reason, is that we wanted to take charge of what is being taught to our kids, because we realized that what was being taught to them about themselves, about their history, about being Black, about being African, was totally different from what is actually the truth. So we decided to take charge of that. I want to thank you.
Yeah, I mean, Noma, I really thank you for bringing it back to the solutions, right? Because we can get so bogged down in the frustration, the anger, the discouragement. And you're right. You know, we should focus on solutions. And those things you mentioned, I'm not going to go on about, but yeah, I want to leave it with that.
Right. So thank you, Shaquita, for a great conversation. And I want to say thank you to Your Black World and Your Black Women viewers. Jump into the comments. If you have questions, you have future topics you'd like us to discuss, please go ahead and suggest them. Thank you again to Shaquita for a great segment. And thank you guys for watching. Take care.